Hello, and welcome to the Feeling Good podcast, where you can learn powerful techniques to change the way you feel. I am your host, Dr. Rhonda Borowski, and joining me here in the Murrieta studio is Dr. David Burns. Dr. Burns is a pioneer in the development of cognitive behavioral therapy and the creator of the new team therapy. He is the author of Feeling Good, which has sold over 5 million copies in the United States and has been translated into over 30 languages. His latest book, Feeling Great, contains powerful new techniques that make rapid recovery possible for many people struggling with depression and anxiety. Dr. Burns is currently an emeritus adjunct professor of clinical psychiatry at Stanford University School of Medicine.
Hello, Rhonda.
Hello, David. You're listening to David Burns, so you must be listening to the Feeling Good podcast. It's episode 480. And welcome to all our listeners around the world, throughout the galaxy. Hi, David.
Hello, Rhonda.
And I do have another beautiful endorsement to read. One of our beloved Wednesday group members wrote me and said, I really like the changes you've made with the podcast. Specifically, I love being able to complete listening to it in a shorter amount of time. It helps me hold on to what I've learned while listening. I never thought of ways you could make the podcast even better, but you have. It's such an amazing resource. Thank you for all you do. Best regards, Judy.
Okay, thank you. That's Judy?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Judy.
Yeah, thank
you. Really appreciate your thoughtful comment.
Okay, so we're going to answer George's question. He asks, would my approach help someone who is suicidal? Dear David, please tell me if this is too close to a medical or other protected advice, but I had a question about something I tell people who are struggling with suicidal ideation. Throughout my life, I've had the thought, I don't want to be alive anymore, more times than I can count. What I have come to realize over time is that this is just something my brain says when I'm upset. It doesn't really mean anything other than that. It's just a reaction to being very upset, and that reframing helps me feel better about it, knowing that it's not a conviction, but rather just how my brain expresses negative distress. Multiple people have found this helpful, but I wonder if telling people this would be dismissive or triggering in a dangerous way. Do you think I should stop sharing this experience? George.
Okay, I'll give you first shot at this.
I'm imagining that George is a therapist and this is what he says, or this is what he says to friends.
I'm assuming he's not a therapist.
You're assuming he's not a therapist. Oh, that's really interesting. So multiple people that he's talked to has found his self-disclosure helpful. And now he's wondering if telling other people they could consider it dismissive or triggering. In a few weeks, we're going to do a podcast on the value of self-disclosure. Giving advice is not helpful to people. We've talked about that. You have talked about that a lot over the course of these many podcasts. But if he's sharing his own experience to be supportive and helpful, then that's different than giving advice or telling someone what they should do.
And so what's your conclusion?
My conclusion is if you're sharing your own experience in a heartfelt, honest way in order to become closer to someone, then that's an okay thing to do. But if he's sharing his experience to give advice to someone or tell them how they should think or what they should do, then I don't think that would be helpful.
Yeah. To my ear, this is, helping and giving advice. And I see, multiple problems with it. And that's the first thing you're jumping into to help people who aren't asking for help. Most people who are upset want someone who can learn to listen, but you're preaching. And I've never yet found someone who enjoyed preaching, especially when they're upset. and you say several people were helped by it. Well, maybe they were just saying that to pacify you, because they saw you were struggling to try to say something helpful. But the thing is that you're assuming that what was helpful for you is going to be helpful for them, and that's very, to my way of thinking. I don't mean to be harsh. No, yes, I do mean to be harsh. It's very self-centered. You're talking about you, but it's the other person who's saying they don't want to be alive anymore, and then you're talking all about yourself.
That's a good
rather
point.
than trying to find out what's going on with them. How are they suffering? What are their thoughts? What are their feelings? Most people want to vent. Now, I've had a podcast on this with you, Rhonda, and I've never mentioned it before on a podcast. That's sarcastic, since I say this every week when we have an Ask David. But it's the podcast. You can probably remind me the number of it, is How to Help and How Not to Help. Do you remember what number that was, Rhonda?
I will find out.
Yeah.
And go ahead. What else do you want to say about it?
Yeah, and the bottom line is, if you get my book, if you read that, listen to that podcast, and maybe read my book and do the exercises in it, feeling good together with the 5 secrets of effective communication, you might have a shot at learning how to listen and learning how to be there for someone who's hurting. Now, at the same time, your desire to be helpful and to reach out to people, that's a beautiful thing. But to my way of thinking, you're living in your own fantasy world, not connecting with another human being. And of course, if you find out in talking to someone that they're really planning on making an active suicide attempt, then you can simply contact the police and or suggest them or take them to an emergency room where an expert can evaluate them and see if they're seriously at risk. Usually that's not the case, but occasionally it is. But the bottom line is, people need someone to listen and to understand the pain that they're going through. And the pain that you go through, George, will have nothing to do with the pain that they're going through. We're all unique, and we're all different. So that's my feedback, Rhonda.
Okay, I love that. And it was episode 164.
Oh yeah, thank you. Number 164. So check that out. If you're a parent and have a teenager who is upset about something at school or whatever, it's learning how to listen and support your kid, and to be there for them, rather than to be giving them advice and telling them what to do. It's not easy to learn, by the way. The 5 secrets of effective communication is the most difficult thing you'll ever try to learn. But if you work at it, you can get good at it. But it's not easy.
No, it is not easy. But it does take practice. And once you have achieved a level of comfort with the 5 secrets, your life will be changed.
Oh yeah, it's life-changing. It really
Absolutely.
is.
Okay, so someone wrote you who did not sign their name, and this person asked, "Do I need to worry about my daughter's anxiety? Dear Dr. Burns, I'm not very skilled at expressing how much you, Rhonda, the others on the podcast, and your work mean to me. So I'll just ask a question. My daughter, who has a lot of anxiety issues, told me that when she has a problem, she will purposely stew over it when trying to fall asleep, so that she'll wake up with an answer to the problem the next morning. I cringed. Is there any way that this is a safe or helpful paradoxical technique? No name."
Okay, you get first shot, and but I'll just say thank you, No Name, for your fascinating question and your obvious great love for your daughter.
Well, from what you just responded to George, wouldn't you say the exact same thing to this woman?
I'll give it my answer, but I'm going to give you the first shot. But no, I'm not going to be saying the same thing at all. And I thought this was a father.
Well, we didn't. There's no name, so I just assumed it was a mother.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny? Well, that's what I would do. I would talk with her and listen to her and give her empathy and try not to help her. There's lots to do when someone has anxiety. But is she asking for help, or is the daughter just telling the parent, whoever she's talking to, what she's doing? Is it working for? Maybe it's working for her. And the parent is cringing, but the daughter's feeling really great about it. So it doesn't sound like it's the daughter who's asking for help, but maybe it's the parent that needs help in managing their own anxiety when they're concerned about their child.
Well, that's a great angle I hadn't thought of. But yes, when I heard this, do you see, this happens to me too when I'm upset about something. And then I'll wake up in the middle of the night with an answer. And sometimes it's a relationship issue like this. Sometimes it's something like a complex statistical problem that I've been working on, trying to solve, a series of equations. And I finally give up and go to bed. And then I wake up in the middle of the night and I say, oh, that's the error I made. And this is the solution. Sometimes I get so excited, I run down and turn on my computer and test it out mathematically. And 9 out of 10 times, it's correct.
Wow.
And it just seems to me that your daughter is telling you that she has this similar ability to give her brain the instruction to work out a problem while she's sleeping. And the brain obediently is doing that and gives her the answer in the morning. And I would say this is super awesome. And I would encourage her to continue with that. And then up to take a page out of your book, Rhonda, it sounds like this father. I'm pretty sure this is a father, but it could be a mother. But I might have been able to figure the gender from the email or something. But at any rate, that here is a parent who loves the daughter, and of course you can always be the same answer I gave the previous person, as give your daughter the chance to vent about whatever she's upset about, and be a good listener, and don't try to help her or solve the problem in any way. Mm-hmm. But in this case, I mean, she's got something that's working for her, and so I would congratulate her, and she could make a good living giving lessons on how to train other people to get their brains to do the same thing in the middle of the night.
There is an NPR radio show on this exact same topic about musicians. And often when musicians are trying to learn a new and difficult song, after hours of practice, they'll go to sleep and in the morning wake up, and lo and behold, they can play the piece better than they did the night before.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right. Letting go of some, even on a simple level. I like to do these Sudoku problems, which a lot of people are familiar with. They're these numerical things. Maybe you've seen them, Rhonda.
Sure.
They put them in the newspaper or something, and it's like a crossword puzzle type of thing, but it involves numbers. And sometimes I'll be partway through and just kind of get stuck on something and it seems too hard, and set it down and come back to it the next day. And I look at it and say, oh, I overlooked this and this and this, and whip, and all of a sudden I'm done with it. And so, taking your mind off of something that you're obsessing about or stuck in, and letting go of it, then often the universe will give you the very thing that you've been struggling unsuccessfully to do yourself.
Cool. Okay, so shall we go back to Jeffrey's question?
Well, yes, I think that we have time for that one, and that's a cool one.
It is. So he asks, can you disarm yourself? Dear Dr. Burns, I have endless gratitude to all of you for the pipeline of clarity and hope from your podcasts and the work that you've done. I was wondering if one can use the disarming technique on oneself. Much of the focus in your book, Feeling Good, seems focused on looking for and challenging our distortions. which seems the opposite of disarming. Maybe the reversal of agendas emphasized in your book, Feeling Great, is essentially putting the disarming back into the process in regards to ourselves. I would like to hear your thoughts on this. On a side note, if one is in a legal contention or divorce, I could see how disarming could be effective and pacifying. Yet what if those admissions could be used against you? Thank you, Jeffrey.
Yeah, sure. I'll answer your last question first, and then I'll let you take a shot, Ron, at the philosophical one, and then once you're done on that, I'll give you my thoughts on it. But these are great questions. But I once treated a man who was referred to me as probably America's greatest courtroom attorney, the most successful litigator. And he was fascinated by the disarming technique and the 5 secrets of effective communication. And what the disarming technique, for those of you who don't know, it's finding truth in what someone who's criticizing you is saying, and instead of defending yourself. And it's based on the law of opposites, which says if you disagree with a criticism that seems exaggerated or distorted or wrong or unfair, and you defend yourself, the very fact that you're defending yourself will prove that the criticism was true all along. And the other side is also a paradox. If you agree with the criticism, genuinely agree with the criticism, which appears to be total bullshit and unfair and wrong, the moment you agree with it, you'll prove that it isn't true. And that's a paradox. And an example would be, let's say a loved one says, "You never listen." And then you could argue and say, "Oh, yes, I do. I'm listening right now. In fact, I heard exactly what you said. You said, you never listen." Well, by arguing in that way, you're proving the criticism is right because you're not listening now. You're arguing. Mm-hmm. And the person is trying to tell you something that's important and true. And so I asked Jeffrey, I said, my students are always afraid of this disarming technique. And if the patient criticizes them and they're afraid that if they agree with the patient, then the patient will sue them. So they think they're supposed to defend themselves. And he said, "Well, I'll give you the answer to that. I know the answer to that. And I'll tell you if you promise not to tell any of your students." And I said, because if you do, I'll be out of business. And I said, "I promise I won't mention this on a podcast or anything like that." And so he said, "If your students learn to disarm their patients, I would be out of business. Because patients never sue doctors for malpractice. You know what they sue for? My doctor didn't listen." Mm-hmm. And if you learn to listen and find truth in what your angry patients are telling you, he said you're never going to get sued. And it's all in the personal relationship. And if you ever did get sued and went to court and had to face me in court, and you disarmed me, and found truth in my criticisms of you, a jury will never find you guilty. And you'll put me out of business that way. Either you'll never come to court or you'll do and you'll win all your cases. So I thought that was cool. But
yeah,
now,
that's cool.
Can we disarm ourselves? Yeah, Rhonda? Yeah, I'm sorry.
Well, let me ask you a question, David. So let's say I have the thought, I made a mistake, or, oh, I'm a terrible person, or some really critical thought.
Yeah, I'm a terrible person.
I'm a terrible person
because I made a mistake. Yeah.
I'm a terrible person because I made a mistake. And the definition of disarming is you find some truth in what the other person is saying. So I would then try to find some truth. I made a mistake, so I'm a terrible person.
Yeah, exactly. And I can demonstrate that with the externalization of voices, if you like.
Okay, let me write that down. I made a mistake, so I'm a terrible person.
Okay, and you want to be the positive thoughts or the negative thoughts? The positive self or the negative self?
The negative self.
Okay, so hit me with it.
So, David, you're a terrible person.
Yeah, I thought now, am I David or Rhonda?
Oh, I'm sorry, Rhonda. Okay. Rhonda, you made a mistake, so you're a terrible person.
Well, I have to address both parts of that. When you said I made a mistake, I couldn't agree more. But you're missing, most of it because I make mistakes all the time, and have, since I was born, I think. So I certainly agree with you on that one for sure. And then when you say I'm a terrible person, I think I'm even worse than what you think, because I don't even know what you're talking about. But I'm sure whatever you have in mind, it's true, because I'm just a bundle of faults and weaknesses. And you know what's so cool about it?
What?
Nobody seems to give a shit. All they care about is if I love them and show some interest in them, then everything's just fine.
Uh-huh. So that was beautiful. You won that.
Uh-huh.
And you won that huge. You won that through acceptance.
Yeah. And that's the cool thing. Acceptance is, and the disarming technique is the link between matter and antimatter. Mm-hmm. And I realized early on that the principles of cognitive therapy would never help someone with a relationship problem. It's exactly the opposite. All the cognitive therapy techniques and principles will make a relationship problem worse, and vice versa. And I'll show you what I mean. Suppose you have the thought, I'm a terrible person, and what are the distortions in that thought, Rhonda?
All or nothing thinking.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Overgeneralization.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Probably mental filter.
Yeah.
And discounting the positives.
Yeah.
Self-blame.
Yeah.
Labeling.
Yeah.
Maybe emotional reasoning. Emotional reasoning.
Hidden should statement.
Like I should never make a mistake.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Uh-huh. And labeling.
Yes. Labeling.
Yeah. And then how will you, Rhonda, feel when you discover that thought is incredibly distorted and that the thought is wrong?
I'll feel relief.
Yeah. Now, let's say that you're married and you have the thought, my spouse is a terrible person. Have you ever had that thought?
Maybe once.
You mean daily? Okay, so you have that.
I have had that thought, yes.
Yeah. Now, suppose your therapist points out to you that thought, Rhonda, your spouse isn't upsetting you, it's your thought. And that thought is all or nothing thinking, overgeneralization, the hidden should statement, all or nothing thinking, mental filtering, blame, blah, blah, blah. And so I just want you to know, Rhonda, that you're wrong.
I would start arguing with her. And
who's her?
The therapist.
Oh, yeah, right. Yes, that's right. And
because I love blaming.
Yeah. So that shows that the cognitive therapy ideas don't work for relationship problems. They make them worse. It's like throwing gasoline on a fire. The techniques are entirely the opposite from each other. It's matter and antimatter. But the interesting thing is that the disarming technique and the acceptance paradox are really the same thing. That's the philosophical bridge between these two opposite worlds. Mm-hmm. The disarming technique is where you're disarming someone who criticizes you, and the acceptance paradox is where you're disarming yourself. And just as the disarming technique in a relationship problem, when done skillfully, nearly always, not always, but nearly always brings about love and relief and joy. Similarly, when you learn to use the acceptance paradox and accept your faults and flaws with a sense of humility and peace. That's what the Buddha called the great death of the self 2,500 years ago. And that also brings a sense of incredible joy. The great death is actually the great rebirth. And you reawaken to a whole new world that when you accept yourself exactly as you are, warts and all, paradoxically, everything about you suddenly changes.
Yeah, right.
And everything about your world suddenly changes. And so, Jeffrey, can you disarm yourself? And the answer is yes. And you've stumbled across, I think, one of the most awesome, puzzles in the whole new philosophy of psychotherapy.
Mm-hmm. That's really great.
Is that awesome?
That is awesome. And the death of the ego, it's really hard to do.
Oh, yeah.
But when you do it, you really open yourself up, like you said, to more love and closeness.
And joy.
And joy.
And freedom and liberation.
Mm-hmm.
And energy.
Right. All of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
do you have any more dictionary pages to read?
Yeah. I wanted to go to page 111 to 142, and this is about it's a really nice 40-minute read, and you get tons of new words, some of
new
them
vocabulary.
very complex.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I'm going to say bye and let you read those by yourself. And bye to our listeners. And David, it's just really been a pleasure and an honor to spend these last half hour with you.
Yes. Thank you, Rhonda and Jeffrey and everybody who sent us your great questions. And next week, I think you're saying that Matt May will be with us for an ask. And we're going to end up with a really hard question from one of our more rascally and obnoxious fans, who coincidentally is named Rhonda. And it's, what's the difference between past projection and memory rescripting? That's going to be question number one. And if that's something you've been obsessing about, put a big gold star for next week, and don't miss that podcast, because you'll learn the difference between past projection and memory rescripting, something I'm sure that many of you have been obsessing about for weeks, years, or possibly much of your life. And next week, the answer will be revealed.
Awesome.
This has been another episode of the Feeling Good podcast. For more information, visit Dr. Burns' website at feelinggood.com, where you will find the show notes under the podcast page. You will also find archives of previous episodes and many resources for therapists and non-therapists. We welcome your comments and questions. If you want to support the show, please share the podcast with people who might benefit from it. You could also go to iTunes and leave a 5-star rating. I am your host, Rhonda Borowski, the director of the Feeling Great Therapy Center. We hope you enjoyed this episode. I invite you to join us next time for another episode of the Feeling Good podcast.